What's going on, healthy gamers? I'm here with ZiggyD. We did some Path of Exile stuff together, and it's been a while since I've had him on the channel, but we're playing some Neverwinter online, and Ziggy's been playing a lot longer than I have. This is my first time really playing, so we're going to do kind of a let's play and kind of talk about the game at the same time and show you what's going on. So how you doing, Ziggy?
I'm doing great, thanks mate. Should be a bit of fun running through this little mini dungeon here.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the first thing that you pretty much do after you it's going to be really bad because I'm really bad at doing two things at once.
So yeah, so this sort of dungeon's like an introductory just to the gameplay of the actual dungeon elements of the game, which is obviously a big part of it. It is a Dungeons and Dragons themed game, at least, even if it isn't an actual Dungeons and Dragons game. But there is a lot of dungeon questing in the game.
Sure, and yeah, the first thing I noticed about the D&D inspired is creating your character. You kind of choose your attributes and you do those item rolls and all those things that thievery kit, huh? All those things that you did in like Baldur's Gate, and I guess just traditional D&D where you kind of roll your character. So that's kind of cool to do. In
yeah, there's some nice little homages like the initial dice rolls and stuff of the game. Overall, though, I wouldn't come into this game expecting too much of a D&D experience. It's got the theming. It's set in Neverwinter, which is, you know, the classic setting from the Neverwinter Nights games. You might be able to do that one, yeah. So there's these things in the dungeons that are for certain characters. So, you know, in a traditional D&D game, you'll have like your strong fighter lifting up a heavy door or something like that, and you'll have your thief doing like traps and things like that. Well, that's sort of represented in-game through these different stations that different characters can collect to get additional loot and things like that. So there's a chest over here, which if you come and get just after me, you might have to wait until I finish opening it up. You'll get a nature kit from in there. So since there's no druids in the game currently, it means you can use the nature kit to activate the nature chance thing over here. So can you open the chest at all?
No, I think you took it.
Ah, they usually refresh, but anyway, I can activate that one there and get some nature ingredients. Kind of a little introduction to that.
But what does that, what does that do? I'm not very familiar with D&D at all.
They're pretty much in this game. It's mostly just for crafting those things that you get through that.
Okay.
So it's not a huge part of the game. There is some like minor puzzles and stuff in the dungeons, but overall it's not a huge hugely in-depth D&D experience, the dungeon questing. It's much more like a traditional MMO in terms of dungeons. But yeah, they're fun and the combat's really, really good.
Yeah, let me just talk about that right now. As you guys are watching, you can see I'm controlling the way I look, just like an FPS with your mouse, and then WASD is moving around, and left click and right click, and those are how you're attacking, so it feels much more like a kind of a FPS style hack and slash rather than, you know, your World of Warcraft where you select a target and then you're pressing 1 and 2 and 3 and activating skills. This is what do they call that?
They list it as an action RPG, and coming over from Path of Exile and Diablo and stuff like that, it does actually feel pretty natural since you are actually having to click on your enemies, which obviously if you play a lot of action RPGs you're very used to, you know, clicking directly on your enemies. If you're used to tab targeting MMOs, it'll be a little bit of an adjustment, but overall I think it's really, really fun. And there's a few other things about the combat that make it fairly unique compared to other games like Guild Wars. Like this is similar in a lot of ways to Guild Wars. But the combat experience is very different because whenever you attack, you're pretty much rooted to the spot, so there's none of this circle strafing business going on, which, to be honest, I found really tiring in Guild Wars 2. And what it means instead is that combat's much more strategic. You have to pick your locations when you attack better, and you have to position yourself well. And there's even like back attacks and flank attacks and things like that. You'll notice when we're attacking some enemies in the future, if you just activate that book, you'll be able to open the door. And yeah, if say you're engaging from the front, then that puts a combat advantage location at the back of the enemy, which means if I attack from that position, I'll get bonus damage and some other benefits depending on my build, which means there's a lot of positioning, and you know it's really fun playing like a trickster rogue and trying to get your backstabs and stuff like that.
Okay, I see. That makes sense.
So you might have a daily power built up by now, I'd say.
Yep, I actually just used it. That was the twirly thing everybody would see on my screen.
Ah yes, you're a Cyclone Barbarian. Yeah. I'll save mine up for a bigger fella, but mine's like a summon. So you can see sort of, maybe you'll notice on screen the little white area behind enemies when you're attacking them. So if you like attack one of these guys, I'll be able to get behind him. So you've taken...
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and I can make
that
section purple for me. meaning I'm in the combat advantage section.
So
Which is a bit awkward against
when it's
little mobs,
purple
but
for
against
me,
big
that
mobs.
means I have an
Yeah, that
advantage.
means you're getting combat advantage, which
Okay.
gives you extra damage.
I see. Huh.
So
So
I'll
there's-
use my daily on this archer over here just for funsies. Smashed him down.
And that phoenix-looking thing, that was your daily?
Yeah, that was my daily.
Okay. Can you explain that a little bit more for me
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everybody
So,
else?
so the name is a bit misleading. I believe they actually plan on changing that. We'll see if there's any loots over here. You can activate that one. They're called dailies just as a holdover from original D&D, where they were a once per day sort of skill. But in this, you build them up by attacking enemies and through other means, depending on your build. And it's more of like an every few minutes sort of thing. So you have your at-wills, which are your left click, right click, which you can pretty much just use all the time non-stop. Then you have your short cooldown abilities, which are called your encounter abilities. And so, you might unleash all of those on a pack and then wait, 10, 20 seconds for those to recharge. And then your dailies ones
I
which
just
you
used
build
that,
up.
so if you guys look, bottom left-hand corner, my Q was recharging.
Yeah. So you have the cooldown. So you have to manage all of those things. And, cooldown management's not like a huge new thing to MMOs. It's like pretty much every single MMO has some sort of cooldown management. But also the times in which you use these different things is very important. And there's also, as you level your character, you unlock this tab ability, which alters the way that your other abilities act and when you should use your other abilities really well. For example, the best example I have is with the Trickster Rogue. Tab activates stealth, and when you're in stealth, all of your abilities pretty much function differently, so you can use them, and some will break stealth and some will extend stealth, and you can manage those different ways to, like, have a lot of stealth uptime or deal really big damage all of a sudden, like, that sort of thing. So, and each class has their own unique sort of aspect of that.
When do you get access to that tab ability?
I think that becomes available at level 10 or possibly 15, so it's a little bit after this sort of introductory session here. Some
Okay,
dungeon
I
on that.
see.
So as you sort of start getting to the actual leveling questing. Now, yeah, was there anything over there? No. I think there's a chest over here. You can come grab this chest if you like. Now, I'm pretty sure these chests are kind of like, you can grab it and then I wait like a second and then I can grab it as well, so. At least most
Alright.
chests seem to be like that. But
Wool scraps. Alright. Every MMO has wool scraps.
no, apparently I can't grab it. That's unusual. Usually I'm able to grab them after other people grab them. Might be something else going on there. But I can use my nature kit on this little nature station thing over here. I've got some wool scraps as well.
What
So they're all
is-
for used the professions, obviously.
Here, let me show you on my screen, just for people watching, that little bar I'm highlighting right now, where it's filling up, that's your daily skill filling up.
Yep.
What about the stamina? Is that only used for running?
For your character, it's used for your sprint ability, which is holding shift. For my character, it's used for this sort of like this little sliding ability. For the Trickster Rogue, it's used for your dodge rolls, which are actually quite powerful. And for the Guardian Fighter, so the shield guy, it's used for actually blocking, and that changes your attacks as well. So it's a pretty interesting mechanic on the shield character. And the stamina sort of wears down as you block a lot. It has a very different system.
The Guardian is waking up.
So we'll be coming into our first little mini boss fight here.
Very cool.
They're stealing the crown.
So I
There
noticed
we
the
go.
graphics aren't the best, but it's...
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not
as
terrible.
I was saying before we recorded this, it's like not as super amazing as some other games like Guild Wars 2 and Ion, but it's a traditionally good-looking game as far as MMOs go. And I think it has its own charms. So
Sure, and it really is... It's not about graphics, it's about gameplay. If the
yeah.
game
So
is
that
good.
seal I just put on him there, when you attack him, you'll actually regain health. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
a
I see
player
that.
building.
Little... Cool. And
I'm
I see
gonna
what
use
you
my-
mean about kind of being strategic, because I was stuck in an attack animation right there, and I couldn't move out of his
Yeah, you
melee
really have
attack.
to pick your times when to attack or when to move and things like that. So I can get a combat advantage here since you kind of have had his back there. So pretty easy boss fight since it's such an early dungeon. But you can see the strategy starting to come out there, and that becomes even more important as you progress.
Sure. How is threat managed and aggro managed in here?
Some characters like the Guardian Fighter can produce additional like aggro additional threat. So I think we just have to activate this little thing. There you go. Now we get a chest. And other ones can minimize the amount of threat they produce, like the Trickster Rogue can have an ability that prevents them from creating too much threat. So obviously you can manage aggro and stuff like that to have the tankier characters take as much threat as possible, but it also just depends on what you do. If you get a big crit on an enemy, they're more likely to turn their attention to you.
Okay, so it's kind of pretty much traditional MMO, whatever, threat management, tank, healer.
Yeah,
DPS
yeah.
roles.
As far as I'm familiar with other MMOs, it's fairly traditional, and it's kind of what you'd expect even out of like a D&D themed system, where your big guys hacking with their great axe are gonna take more aggro over the little guy with the dagger.
Sure.
Which is usually the idea, and that allows you to manage that combat advantage and have have your glass cannony characters try and take advantage of that as much as possible.
Okay,
Or
sure.
the shield guy helps shield up.
We finished our... That was the dungeon was done?
Yeah, that was the this like new sort of mini introductory dungeon, so very short compared to later ones. Later ones range from between 15 minutes and over an hour.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna ask that.
Yeah, at least so far that I've played. I think some of the end game ones can take a fair bit longer. Depends on your party and everything like that. So we can just turn in our quest here and get an additional one. And now we're going to the ruined tunnels to track down where this crown was taken.
What about kind of what's their goal for the end game?
So far they have mainly like epic dungeons, so there's like tier 1 and tier 2 dungeons which get progressively more difficult, and you have to have you have to get the gear from one to be able to progress into the next one and things like that. There's also some crossover between that and PvP, since you can actually level and do actually get gear through PvP, so you can get like your PvP epic gears and then take those into dungeons to help you out in that system.
Are there PvP stats?
There's not PvP stats, so it's all sort of joined into one. So, as I said, you get normal experience and everything like that through it. So you take your level 19 character into level 19 sort of restricted PvP, which just sets up automatically. The queue system's actually really good. You can just queue up while you're playing, and it'll automatically put you in a PvP match. And you earn glory points through PvP, which you can spend on certain gear and stuff like that. So we're coming down into here. And we'll enter this other little mini sort of questing dungeon thing.